evening. So we're just a few seconds late with some technical difficulties, but it's all sorted out. We are coming out of closed session, and today we recognize the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Attawandaron as the customary keepers and defenders of the Great Turtle Island, its waters, and its lands. We honor their long history and welcoming others to this beautiful territory. Our aim is to uphold and uplift their voices and values as a host nation. Before we begin, I actually have just a couple of announcements that should be at the beginning of the meeting versus the end. Firstly, this is the last regular council meeting for our Director of Operations, Jonathan Grant. And it is with great sadness that we say goodbye, but we wish you all the best in your new role.
Thank you.
And secondly, something that doesn't happen every day, we have a Tillsonburg homegrown boy that was just inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Colin Campbell. So congratulations from Tillsonburg Council on quite an achievement. Next, we will move to the adoption of the agenda. Deputy Mayor.
It's fun. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Luciani, that the agenda is prepared for the council meeting of Thursday, November 14th, 2024 be adopted.
Any questions or comments from council? All those in favor? Carried. Disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Adoption of council minutes. Councilor Luciani.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Ferris, that the council meeting minutes dated October 21st, 2024 be approved.
Are there any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Carried. Next, we move to a public meeting. And this is an application for minor variance, A12-24, 165 Johntown Road. This is a public meeting. Oh, first we have to move into the Committee of Adjustment. Councilor Parker.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Rosehart, that council move into the Committee of Adjustment to hear an application for minor variance at 6:03 p.m.
All those in favor? Now we sit as a Committee of Adjustment. This is a public meeting held under the Planning Act for the purpose of hearing minor variance application A12-24. This process allows any person in attendance the opportunity to make a presentation to committee. To start, the planner, Mark Davidson, will give an overview of the application.
Thank you, Mayor Galdazi. So the property in question is 165 Johntown Road. The property is both zoned and designated for open space purposes, but it has an existing disaster restoration operation service master. So the applicants are proposing to construct two additions to the property. So the westerly addition is to expand the shop and storage area, and the easterly addition will expand the existing office area. So both of the provisions that are being requested, basically the interior side yard setback is looking to reduce from 7.5 meters to 6.3 meters. So that is in accordance with section 52172 of the zoning bylaw, which is an extension of a legal non-conforming use. The provisions for the second minor variance is they're looking to extend a legal non-conforming setback. So the setback already exists at 4 meters, and they're looking to continue that use or that setback for the proposed addition. So that falls under a different section of the Planning Act. That's a section 45/2 minor variance. Staff are supportive of both of the minor variances. The applications were circulated to a number of different departments and agencies. We did receive comments from the Conservation Authority noting that they had no objections and they had actually issued a permit for the proposed extensions. So as a result, staff are supportive of the minor variances and are recommending approval, as we do think they meet the 4 tests of the minor variance, and we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do any committee members have any questions for the planner regarding this application? Seeing none. Now there's an opportunity for the public, the applicant, or agent to speak in favor of the application. Is there anyone present in person or virtually that would like to speak in favor of the application? Welcome. And you'll have to sign in on the clipboard. And state your name, please.
Sure. Churchman.
Yeah.
It is one? Okay. My name's Steve Cornwall. I'm the applicant for this proposal. Just wanted to let the committee know that we're quite happy with the plan report. On a technical issue, I kind of disagree that there needs to be two variances, just the second one will do. We're talking about an existing legal non-conforming use. The committee does have power to authorize expansions to it without having to go through the normal minor variance procedure, even where you're dealing with the 4 tests. That said, we have no objection to what staff is recommending to you at all, and it should work just fine. Happy to answer any questions about the proposal.
Thank you. Do committee members have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you very much. And don't forget to sign the paper. Now we will hear from those in opposition of the application. Is there anyone present in person or virtually that would like to speak in opposition of the application? And I see no one in the audience, and we have no registered speakers. Are there any further comments or questions from committee members? Seeing none, Councillor Spencer.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Parsons, that the Town of Tillsonburg Committee of Adjustment approve application file A12-24T submitted by Stephen Cornwell on behalf of Garland Holdings Inc. for lands described as part of lots 1594 and 1595, Plan 500, Town of Tillsonburg, as it relates to one, in accordance with section 5.21.7.2, extensions to non-conforming buildings, relief from section 2.2 zone provisions, table 22.2 zone provisions, interior side yard, minimum width to reduce the minimum required interior side yard depth from 7.5 meters to 6.3 meters. And section 2, pursuant to section 452AI of the Planning Act, relief from section 22.2 zone provisions, table 22.2 zone provisions, rear yard minimum depth to extend the legal non-conforming rear yard setback from 4.0 meters, whereas 10.0 meters is required. The first requested variance meets the 4 tests of minor variances as set out in section 451 of the Planning Act as outlined within this report.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Councillor Luciani.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Spencer. The council move out of the Committee of Adjustment and move back into regular council session at 6:09 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried. We have one delegation this evening, and we welcome Tyler Coghill regarding Library Lane walkway. Welcome.
So I think everybody's had a chance to review, doesn't sound like it's on, I get what you were saying. To review the presentation, yeah, pull it up to me.
Here you
And not talk to somebody. Is that okay? Yeah. So I'm representing some business owners in the area as well as property owners down the Library Lane covered walkway area. So the immediate businesses at Library, One Library Lane, the library, and those just affected by people who are walking through the area. So there are a few concerns that we have with the current space. There's some safety issues relating to uneven ground. There's some accessibility issues created by that, as well as general public safety issues and the overall condition of the covered component of the walkway. And really, this should be pretty quick. There's, when it comes to accessibility issues and concerns, can we move on to the next? There we go. Really, it's the uneven surfaces as well as the ramps where the town land's going down to the same level as one library lane. There's walkways that are fairly narrow. On the side of those walkways, there's patio pavers that are an issue. If we go to the next slide, it shows pictures, which shows very clear indications of some challenges with the area. The patio pavers at one point were very level. Today they are very uneven, and that space is very tight to walk and maneuver down. So there's a lot of clients that may avoid businesses there and hurt overall traffic flow to those businesses just because it's not as accessible as it could be, as well as just simply a liability issue that exists. Go on to the next one there. The OPP in early, I believe it was 21, did a report on the area that highlighted a lot of safety concerns. There was some trouble there while businesses weren't operating during COVID. Most of those issues were addressed by property owners or the town at the time, removal of benches, adding of cameras, lights, and such. The outstanding issue that hasn't been able to be corrected is the sight lines in the area, which are created by the pillars at the start and exit. If we go on to the next slide, we hid a well over 6 foot guy behind those pillars, and the only reason you see him is because he wanted to be seen. He's sticking a hand out. We go to the next picture. I think he's fully gone. So that's not a little human being hiding. He is not visible. And we go on to the next. So the condition of the walkway as well as the covering are just the pavers, not just the pavers, but the sidewalk itself is starting to become unlevel. So there's a lot of work on kind of the walking component as well as the cover's just aging. We go on to the next picture. There's again some more, or next slide. There's some more pictures. So just some of the grading issues highlighted here, as well as just the wood at the top of the covering starting to deteriorate. It's no longer just a paint and improve the look. It looks like it's starting to fall apart. And if we go on to the next slide, we start seeing some of the footings and unevenness again. We go on to the next slide and we'll highlight some of the posts that are starting to corrode and rust out. At some point, those are going to be some sort of major repair. I don't think we're looking at probably past a paint and hide. It's going to be a structural issue at some point. And we go on to the next one here. There we go. And so really we wanted to bring awareness to these points and ensure that we can improve the physical access to the walkway, ensure there's the public safety, as well as making sure that the structure and all that is in proper working order, as well as the current slope and grading of that land is causing water to flood towards library lane, one library lane, flooding out the front door of the building on a few occasions. So it seems to be getting worse as the grading of those patio stones seem to shift around. So really today we wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we have these challenges and that there's something that needs to be done in the space, and it is impacting the businesses, and there's several new businesses at one library lane, and we don't want this to deter those potential customers from going to those businesses. And that is what we were here to talk about today. Is there any questions?
I'll open the floor, Councilor Spencer.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. The police report, did it say anything about mirrors, like to put in places so that you can see behind pillars, that sort of thing? I don't believe there's mirrors up, but did it speak to that if you read the report?
No, so it was really just called out as I think it was the part that I had seen was solely that it was obstructed view. That was really it, not a solution necessarily guided that. They did guide towards like cameras and gates and whatnot, but I don't remember there being anything such as that suggestion, no.
And if I could follow up through the chair, that you mentioned like businesses were doing some repair and there's some areas marked. Has Oxford County been notified at all? Or this is just a beginnings conversation?
Beginning conversation, exactly. So once we notified the clerk's office, within a day, somebody was out to look at the space and painted those highlighted areas, because obviously they were visually you can see it's a concern, the trip hazards.
And just one last question. Do you happen to know, like, I know there's security down there. Do you happen to know the hours that they're there?
Don't know for sure. They are, my understanding it is from the library, the security, so I would assume they work the library hours.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor.
Through you, what is the ask? What are you asking for? Are you asking the town to do the engineering for the repair and to fund it completely? Or are there other contributors? I mean, according to this, you want us to take a look at it. You want the town to take a look at it. Are you looking for the town to fund it?
It's town property, so it's not something that would be on property owners, but with the ideal situation for us is a removal of the covering. That's how we create a safer space. Because of that covering as well, people like to grab a coffee, stand up front of the library and actually block the walkway, and it is actually a walkway and it does get crowded. So a removal would be the ideal, and it also is the lowest ongoing capital cost. Anything you put in there is going to need to be repaired at some point, maintained at some point. It's a walkway, it should be a walkway.
So, and if I could just continue, so really the ask is you're looking for an engineering report to see what the best end result is and to fund it by the
Yes.
taxpayers.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Just to clarify, though, you just be fine with the removal and not a repair.
There's still walkway repair.
Well, there, yeah.
Yeah, that side, yeah.
The
but
accessibility part.
absolutely. Yep.
I'm just gonna tell you, I've had like a vision for this area for a long time, just to remove the covering and put piazza lights all down it. It would make it nice and bright and like a really pretty walkway. So I think that there's opportunities that we could explore. Are there any further questions or comments from council? Thank you for the presentation, and Councilor Carter.
Yeah, I'm gonna be reading an amended resolution, moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barris. The delegation from Tyler Coghill regarding Library Lane walkway be received as information, and that a report be brought to council through the 2025 budget process in regards to improvements and safety issues addressed in Library Lane, and that the costs that may be associated with those improvements be included.
Does council have any further questions or comments? Councilor Spencer?
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to the Director of Operations. You'd mentioned like some of that responsibility might be Oxford County Council or Oxford County's ramp and whatnot. Would we need to consult with them for this report then?
Through you, Mayor, for council's consideration, just a couple quick facts about this area. There is defined property lines, but there is not a defined boundary or legal survey that is conducive. However, that being said, the library does encroach within the lane quite a bit, which there is no agreement with the library currently. In speaking with the CAO of the Oxford Library overall, we are both in agreement that a general memorandum of understanding should be entered into in terms of care and control, especially with the ramps and the gardens. There's been some other concerns that have come up through this process. Certainly we can look into the removal or the options. Additionally, just because of the given area and frankly, professionally, the brick causes problems, especially when you have concrete brick. I would suggest that a complete removal of the brick is warranted in this case, especially if there's no canopy, because we're gonna have to get a sidewalk machine between there just to be able to offer some snow removal. So we can definitely look into that, but the memorandum of understanding would be able to capture some of the relationship. You can be respectful that it would be very sensitive in terms of having regular snow removal salt application just for the continued use, where we would only offer that once or twice a week. So we'd want to have a clear understanding of how they were providing the service and protecting the liability and vice versa. And the other thing I can confirm, and I know it was additionally or just briefly spoken about, the security guard is assigned to the library. They do rotations around the building, and they do the regular business hours of the library. And from my conversations with the library staff,
that security guard is continuously being put in the budget at the county level. So it was originally a COVID relief, but it has become permanent place.
If I could just follow up there. Is the amended motion good then for the memorandum of understanding, or do you need any further with that or direction?
Through you to the council, I think we would be okay with just a general direction. It may evolve into a formal agreement, depending how far down the rabbit hole we go, but I think at the first blush, we want to consider a memorandum of understanding at the very least.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council? I have one. So a few years ago, there was $15,000 set aside for Library Lane for like a redesign. Was that money used? Is it still sitting somewhere?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that was just brought to my attention, so I'm going to have to flush that out as well too, in terms of how far that 15,000 went. I understand that there's also a report that was brought back to council, so most likely the next report will be a reference to that original intent and in continuation of the conversation today.
Yeah, I think it was like sent over to Gino, I think if I recall. That's great. And that answer will come with the report during budget, I'm assuming. Okay, thank you. Okay, any further questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Next, we move to deputations on committee reports, and this is regarding the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and thank you, by the way, for coming in.
Thank you.
CFS, all yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. This is just bringing forward a recommendation from the Economic Development Advisory Committee. As council is aware, committees exist to provide advice to council. And there was some discussion at a recent meeting regarding some of the concerns about representation on county council. And so the committee made this recommendation that we look for a more equitable, or provide this motion, I guess, a more equitable representation to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing and other related political representatives.
Does council have any questions with regards to this recommendation? Councilor Spencer?
Thank you, through you, Chair. This motion speaks to the correspondence with MPP Hardeman and Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and the Premier. Has this motion gone to Oxford County Council already?
Through the mayor to Councillor Spencer, this particular motion has not. There certainly has been a representation in the past. I know the county had some consideration or reconsideration of this matter in 2020, but this is a new motion that has not gone anywhere except for this council to date.
Okay, and if I could continue, yeah, I did see that there was something in 2020 and it was looked at. I did have the opportunity to talk with MPP Hardeman about this, and he said we can't bypass Oxford County Council. It has to be through them, not through another municipality, and that they would just send it back and say that somebody needs to bring this back to Oxford County Council. Just to.
So through the mayor, this again is advice to this council. This council feels that another road is more appropriate, and this council should direct that road. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Yeah, this was in 2020 and then COVID hit and the province kind of threw these aside and it just didn't go anywhere. And this doesn't necessarily mean that there's another body on county council from Tillsonburg. It could just be that the representative from Tillsonburg has 2 votes. Those are all things that we looked at in the past, but it's up to council what they wish to do with this. So that's just a bit of background information. Deputy Mayor, are there any further questions that you've got the resolution?
I brought the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. No, I just have some questions on it. With what Councillor Spencer said, and I was part of that conversation, will we not be better to forward this to Oxford County? This was looked at approximately that time, just pre-COVID. And I remember Warden Martin was there at the time, and he came back and he said at that time Oxford County was not interested in pursuing the second position for Tillsonburg. So the process, the missing part or the missing piece there was to take this at this time to Oxford County for review and see where they feel with it, rather than to go beyond them to the ministry, which I guess this resolution implies. That's what the committee would like to see happen. So, what I'd like to see for a resolution is that it's forwarded to Oxford County, and Oxford County could carry it forward. Minister Hardeman did say that, you know, Oxford County is the tier that would be looking for municipal affairs ministry and not the lower tier.
Are you done? I have other questions or other hands. Why not? Councillor Parker and then Councillor Carson.
Well, this has been a lingering issue and it's a stalemate at the county. Let's be realistic. We have 5 rural votes, we have 5 urban votes. You're never gonna get 2/3 majority either way. So at some point, it's gonna have to go to the province anyways. And we have grown so much that either a second representative or a second vote at county council is something that's needed for the town of Tillsonburg. We don't have proper representation when you sit there and you look at the balances across all of the residents. Swax has the same number of votes at Oxford County as the town of Tillsonburg, and our population far exceeds that. And this is something that I believe since the original report came through that it should go to the province, but we know we're never going to, the vote is never going to go 2/3 majority at Oxford County because the rural municipalities do not want to lose power over the urban. And that's exactly why it's going to be a stalemate forever. So at some point, the province needs to step in. Rather, if we can send it back to Oxford County right now, you're going to get the exact same results as what you did before. And then it's still going to have to go to the province and the province is going to have to make a decision. This has been an ongoing thing. Nothing's going to change when you still have the same number of votes at Oxford County. So I think by going back to Oxford County, you're going to add another step and prolong it even further. Personal opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Parsons and then Councillor Luciani.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Worship. I agree with Councillor Parker. I mean, looking at the numbers alone, the Oxford County Act established an equal rural versus urban mix. And looking at the numbers, 80,000 people live in the 3 urban centers compared to 42,000. So it's 80,000 versus 40,000 and rough numbers of urban versus rural. And those numbers are going to continue to grow by every projection that we're seeing in terms of the growing urban centers in Oxford County. I think we're a county rich in agriculture and will always respect that heritage and the future of agriculture. But the representation for people, not landmass, does call for some action or some change in the balance. And so I support this going forward. And I would just add that I was around when after in the Mike Harris days, when there was legislation for representation of improved representation population, and the council will remember, you know, the reorganization of the greater Sudbury area, Ottawa, Carleton, Hamilton, Wentworth, and Oxford County. Actually, they sent a commissioner here, and there was a look at different models of how Oxford County could reshape to represent, to better represent the growth in urban centers. And I remember a number of models that were talked about at the time, one being a single tier, another being 3 municipalities, Woodstock, and then 401 North, 401 South, those sorts of things with a ward system. And I think we missed the boat actually when something didn't take place. But my thoughts are, yes, we have to move this forward. Thank you.
Councillor Luciani.
Through you, Mayor. Just a couple comments. One, I guess, is that I'm in full agreement with the intent of this. the comments that have been said, I'm in full agreement with. I do agree that, with Councillor Spencer, that if this has not gone to county council at this, for this particular count, for this particular, council, it did go for the last council, didn't go to this council. And I would think if it goes forward to any of these other locations, they're gonna wanna see the checkbox that it's at least hit county council, even if it, it may go forward, not likely, but if it's checked that it doesn't, at least you've got that covered off, and I think there's a little more weight going forward. Councillor Parker says that it will likely slow it down, but I think it will actually speed it up, because I think you're gonna get something back from, after it's sent back, and then it's gonna have to go to council, and then to be tried and then go up. So I'm in, myself, I would like to see this go to county council first before this goes forward, but I fully support this extending out going forward.
Deputy.
I want to make it perfectly clear that the end result here needs to be done, and I agree with what it is. It's just the process of doing it. I believe probably let me try something here, that we reword this, that council requests, so the council of the town of Tillsonburg requests a review of equitable representation at county council. That's what I would like to see happen. And with that, as Mr. Hardiman said, there could be bodies added to county council, more so than just one. Because if it's an equitable review, it could be done based on population, which was done in the 1975 Act, but things have changed and shifted so much since that time for population. There may be more total bodies added to Oxford County Council. And that's up to Oxford County to call on the review. That's what I'd like to see in this resolution.
Councillor Spencer, did you have a question before the deputy puts?
Yes, thank you, through you, Chair. I did, because I tried to find, I agree that there needs to be representation by population as well as for the urban versus rural. I'd love to see another vote from Tillsonburg, but I did find that there was a report from Oxford County in 2020, and it referenced the requirements for undertaking a council composition review in accordance with section 218, subsection 173 of the Municipal Act, that it has to go through county council. So Councillor Luciani said, I want to see this go forward. I also don't want to just waste time and send a letter off where they send it back and say this has to go, especially since we heard right from who one of the suggested people that go to has said that that's the way it has to happen. So I'm in agreement with an amended motion there. Thank you.
I would say that not all council have the same information, but I'll turn it over to the deputy mayor to put the motion on the floor.
Well, the motion reads that the Economic Development Committee wants to make a recommendation to council. And this is not the recommendation, if I read it this way, that the Economic Development Committee wanted to be presented to council. So we could read it verbatim, or we could ask that the Economic Development Committee readdress council with requesting a review, if you want to keep the Economic Development Committee involved in it. I don't want to step on their toes. I mean, there's some people on economic development that should be aware of what was brought to our attention after speaking with Mr. Hardiman on the weekend.
Through the mayor to the deputy mayor and the rest of council, what it sounds like you may be looking for is actually referring this matter back to the committee with the staff providing an update of the additional information and having them render a decision, a new decision that will be brought forward
Brought
from
forward
your
to council.
committee. Just for awareness as well, council has the full authority at any point in time to either agree, disagree, or change any of the committee recommendations that come forward to you. That is why we bring the reports forward as we do. They're recommending to you to take their recommendation, but at any point in time, you're the body that has the final jurisdiction. That's just, those two items is what I would know.
And Mayor, I appreciate that, but I believe if we refer this back to committee, to bring forward the proper wording, then, the council will receive it forward at a subsequent meeting.
Well, then what I would like to see though is a reach out to MPP Hardeman's office to have an official position and direction to this council.
And I believe that should be done at the committee level, but council could do that at our level too, but we're bypassing the committee here, and I don't want to step on their toes. So if committee reaches out to Hardeman's office, Mr. Hardeman's office, brings back a recommendation to council like this, we go forward.
No, I feel the town should reach out to MPP Hardeman's office, get the information directly from him. Then that information can be provided back to the committee, which would help the committee potentially make a decision.
That would be fine, right? So with this, I'll ask the help of verbiage for the clerk. Would be motion to defer.
Sorry, give me 1 second, I'm writing it out.
Yep, thank you.
And just for this council's information, the last time it was a stalemate at the county, it was 5-5, and that's why it went to the province for review, then COVID hit, and it just basically fell off the radar.
And I believe too, Mayor, at that time, the province had requested more than one municipality be looked at. Or maybe that was prior to that, but there was a review done with more than just Oxford County at that time for competition of members.
There was recently a federal review done.
That's right.
That's different.
No, I'm not talking about that one.
No, yeah, I know. I think, and honestly, in 2020, I think it just fell off the rails
Right.
with COVID.
Right. I think we should take the proper steps into it, so. You have better verbiage for me, Clark?
Certainly, so through the mayor, this is what I suggest, that the item be referred back to EDAC with town information from MPP Hardeman on the process included within the report to EDAC. Referral equals a new report. So you would refer this back, a report would go to EDAC, which would include information from MPP Hardeman.
I would be happy to move that if the seconder would agree. I believe that's the fastest process.
Can you just read that again? I'm sorry.
Certainly, through the mayor to the councillor, that the item be referred back to EDAC with town staff, including information from MPP Hardeman on the process to be included within the report to EDAC.
That's fine.
See this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just note the committee, Economic Development Committee, is not an expert on process. So I think that if you refer back to them, they might just say, well, you tell us what the process is. So, I mean, council can direct if they know what the process is, just a thought.
Councilor Carter?
I think the best bet might be that report titled Economic Development Advisory Committee Recommendation Representation on Oxford County Council be received as information. And the council requests a report from staff outlining the process by MPP Hardeman on the composition or representation at Oxford County Council. And then that brings the report back to us, and it gives us the opportunity where it still keeps economic development involved, knowing that the original report request came from them.
With the if I may speak, with the professional advice of our member provincial partner.
Okay, well, I have two motions on the floor, so I've got one motion on the floor right now. Yeah, I've got. Oh, I've got nothing on the floor.
No,
you're right. No.
Yeah, that's sorry. Through the mayor to council members, and nothing has been moved and seconded. You asked me to read revised language, but nothing. So then there's new revised language that's being suggested from Councillor Parker. So we have two revised suggestions in the queue, nothing moved and seconded.
you're the mover.
I tend to, as a mover, I appreciate what Councillor Parker wants to add to this.
Councillor Spencer.
Through the chair too, Madam Clerk, is it possible to also access the procedural bylaw or procedure for Oxford County Council in regards to composition review for a report?
Through the mayor to councillor, I would suggest that when staff prepares a report, they look at other types of information, and if the county council procedural bylaw includes how to review their composition, then that could be noted within the report.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, just another possibility. In agreement with everything that's put here from EDAC, what would be the harm in doing everything concurrently? In other words, carry on with what's put here and also get it on the agenda for Oxford County Council. And then we've got a yes or no on where they stand on it, and nothing slowed down.
So you got that?
We have the authority to do that.
Through the mayor to the council members, I might need clarity on what you're suggesting. So we're suggesting that we both send a letter and we're looking at a staff report, just so I know what I'm crafting.
My thought is, through the mayor, my thought would be, we may not need a staff report. We can just deal with the resolution from EDAC that's here. But just add one clause, maybe a clause B, and make the clause B clause C, and just put in something that it is added to Oxford County Council for their consideration.
Through the mayor to council, that what you might want to do is actually just edit what's come from your committee and include that circulation to county council. You're drafting the same letter, you're sending it to county council, you're sending it to the MPP, you're sending it to the ministry, et cetera. You're sending it to all bodies at the same time.
I think that your intent is to just send it off to the county first,
And let them deal with it.
and then see what happens with that, and then if it's a no-go at the county, then this council can decide what to do with it. So I think that if you just took, A, receive this information, and B, that that it be just sent to Oxford County Council and take out MPP Hardeman and everything else, and just send it to County of Oxford
For review.
for review.
Chair, so our good mayor here sits on Oxford County Council. How do you think this will go?
I think it won't go anywhere. I'll be honest, or at the very best case scenario, it'll be a stalemate, but not necessarily mean that we may not get moved forward.
Worship, if that's the case, then this council then can take the next step, right?
Absolutely.
Through the mayor to the council members, what I'm hearing now is that A, the motion stays the same because you're receiving the report. B, that a letter be sent to Oxford County Council requesting to have equitable representation for the amount of people the town is representing at the county governance level.
Or a review of equitable representation. No other word review in there, or no?
My recommendation is that this town is requesting equitable representation.
Right.
That we're saying we need it. And the new population growth would suggest that we really need it.
Right. We got that clear? Was moved by myself, second by Parsons, that report entitled, are we still gonna forward that? Yeah, I guess we are, because it's got the data entitled Economic, Committee Recommendation. Representation on Oxford County Council be received as information, and then I'll let you do part B.
That a letter be sent to Oxford County Council requesting to have an equitable representation for the amount of people the town is representing at the county governance level.
That's this step, yes. Second, if the seconder agrees.
Yes.
That's it.
Any further questions or comments? My only concern would be to find equitable, because the county may come back and say, we have equitable representation, like versus we want increased representation. I'm not sure, I'm just
By
throwing that out there.
population.
But it isn't based, representation isn't based on population. Right, if that were the case, it would be a much different makeup, because as you stated before, two-thirds of ratepayers live in the urban areas.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly, around 2/3. Anyways, we'll see where we get. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? I'm not going to be carried. Next, we move to a report regarding grapevine removal. Andrea, I'll turn it over to you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this report is a committee recommendation that we look into the option of cutting the stump and roundup application to remove invasive grapevine species. We did look into this. We had a lot of difficulty finding somebody who would actually do it. After this report was written, we did find somebody who came out and said the work would be extensive and it would be a minimum of $200 an hour. So I can add that to the report after the fact. So we're not recommending moving forward at this time with that project. They also said they're not going to guarantee that it won't grow back. So we would be doing a lot of work with no guarantee that we're not going to have to do it again, within a year or two. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions with regards to this report? I do. So with the last recommendation with our trail expert that's out and about, he would not be allowed to do it.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, we can't have a volunteer do it, and we don't have anyone on staff who currently is licensed to do it. So we would have to hire a company that's licensed.
Okay, actually, then I have a subsequent question. Why don't we have anyone on staff with a chemical license?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we haven't required that. We did actually have Karen Patton at one time had that license. She let it lapse because it wasn't being used through the town. So we could look into having somebody re-licensed or licensed. However, at this time, we don't have any staff with that qualification.
So I had my chemical license multiple times. It's a very easy process. Like, it's not difficult. It's not costly either. I think that like with Phragmites, like if we have invasive species, I know like a lot of the roads crew probably has someone licensed, I would assume. Now, do you have someone come in too?
Madam Mayor, we don't have anybody licensed for chemical treatment as well. It is a gap in the industry since Roundup was, it's been highly regulated in about the last 8 years, where we would just cut down Phragmites. I know that's not the best practice, but continuously cutting it down in terms of roadside mowing, it would be our preventative maintenance at the time. But we certainly, if the investigation is to look into possibly a joint license, that mitigate costs as well.
Okay, yeah, like it's not recommended to cut Phragmites, it's recommended to use Roundup. It's very invasive. And it's like the turtles can't migrate and animals can't migrate through it.
You remember, that is correct. It's just, there's a lot of miseducation about Phragmites specifically. I've done a number of courses, even when I was on the farm, we had the license there too. The Roundup is just one solution to it, and frankly, the best one that the Conservation Authority would tell you would be burning it, is actually, but, that's very aggressive and time consuming, period. Roundup is very, very regulated now, we can't even use it in the road crew technically. These limited applications are really what the licensing is to provide, is where it is actually, it's not, the safe handling of the chemicals, I should say, is one part of it, it's where it can be applied out of the way of the general public, but we can certainly look into a shared license if that would be beneficial.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Spencer. Oh, Councilor Rosar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to you, this is the trail from Tilson to Broadway.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this is, several trails have the issue, so we would be looking to start with the Tilson Broadway, but there are several areas where we need to explore.
So is this trail to be, through you, Madam Mayor, sorry, is this trail to be maintained by Tillsonburg or by county?
Tillsonburg maintains.
Tillsonburg maintains, the county owns it, but Tillsonburg maintains it?
Yes.
So there's no way we can go to county and ask them to do that for us?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we certainly could, that could be one option to explore, see if maybe the county has somebody who is licensed.
And may I do a follow-up, Madam Mayor, is the parking lot in that area the town of Tillsonburg or is that the county's parking lot?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is the county's parking lot.
Thank you.
Councilor Lucian.
Through you, Mayor, I'm just gonna speak on this as a member on that committee and person who put this particular motion forward. This is as a result of trying to beautify the trail that's going through. And the issue that we have is that there's a lot of non-native species that are gonna have to be removed and native species planted. As well, the big thing that's causing an issue right now is that the overgrowth on the vines is strangling off the majority of the stuff that's trying to grow. My understanding when this came forward was that Paul DeCluet has a chemical license, and as part of the subcommittee and the beautification of that, including planting some trees, that I thought he was kind of looking at maybe eating some of this off bits and pieces, but he does have a license. I suppose if he charges it down, it'd be a contractor. But my understanding is that I thought that he was going to supply some of his expertise with this. So I'm actually supporting that this goes forward. It may need some more finessing as far as the exact way it's gonna go. But if we're gonna clean up the trail at all, I think this has to go forward. I thought anything else to add to that, I'm certainly open.
Well, I think that was the question I asked, which I referred to that, our committee member that's licensed, and you're saying he can't do it for liability and. But what's the answer? He's not legally allowed to do it?
So through the mayor, he's not an employee of the town who we've, provided and insured his license for that particular purpose.
Councilor Burke.
Through you, Mayor Gilvazy, to Director Greenway, could he be hired as a contractor through his business?
Through the mayor, yes, if he has a legitimate business with insurance, yeah, we could potentially hire him. Depending on the costing, we have to use the procurement process and potentially go into tender, but.
Council could waive that though, by Councilor Spencer and then Councilor Lucian.
I think you might have just answered that. I was just gonna ask, do we have to put that out for contract, or can we just hire him? But thank you.
Councilor Lucian.
I guess I'm just looking for clarification because as part of the Parks Beautification and Cemetery Committee, there was a subcommittee that was struck. In fact, we came back to this council requesting additional representation from Oxford County, which was approved to go forward. And my understanding was that the subcommittee was looking at doing what it could to try to enhance and beautify that trail. But it's a long process that if we don't start at and start getting some of the initial stuff done, it's gonna take a long time. The individual that we're speaking of, Paul DeClua, has done an extensive amount of work along that trail, including planting trees. And I was under the impression that that was with the blessing of the town. Because we're not letting them do this. I think we shouldn't be letting them plant trees on the same adage. And that doesn't make sense when we've got individuals within a town willing to put their expertise forward in their time, that we would close them down.
So I have a question. So the Horticultural Society that does work on town gardens, and they're not a paid contractor. Do you think, Carrie, do they have insurance?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, and we have an agreement with them, so, an MOU, so that allows them.
Also, there's an MOU.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's an option. Councilor Parker?
Yeah, I'm in full agreement that if we have a volunteer that's willing to put time and effort into it, we need to find any way that we're able to do that. If we have to do it legally, I completely understand, but I don't want to reject this motion or reject the recommendation when we know it's work that needs to be completed. I think maybe we might need to refer this motion back to staff to get a full report and have a conversation. And if there is the ability to sole source or single source this, after hearing what the cost of the one person that got back to us, I'm gonna assume even if it is out for RFP, he's probably still gonna be the lowest bidder at that point. So I hate to see a volunteer that wants to do work in the community and improve the beautification of our trails not be able to do it. It's literally creating red tape. It's something that we as people sitting around this horseshoe need to limit the red tape that we put in front, especially for something that's gonna beautify our town. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, well said. This continues to be a problem, and it's a problem with our, service clubs and whatever that we're putting, we have all these barriers, and I know that there's liability and all these issues, but we need to find workarounds for some of this, like we honestly do. Because things are costing us more money, and there has to be solutions, and we need to be creative.
Yeah.
So I will, Councillor Spencer, you have the resolution.
Through you, Mayor, prior to reading it, and maybe this would be a good question for Councillor Luciani, being the mover of the recommendation, or to Director Greenway. Is there a way we can put in here that the RCP look at a way of entering into agreement with somebody, like, so that we can keep this moving along rather than a report and then coming back and then deciding, can we move this along with just putting that direction forward to make that happen?
State clause B.
And if Madam Clerk has any suggestions, I would welcome them.
Mayor to council members, we're looking to just strike clause B and then direct staff to proceed with securing a vendor to provide for the stump and cutting and roundup application.
Can council override the procurement policy? We can, correct? Anyone?
Through the mayor and council, you may want to have a treasurer, a director of finance chime in on our procurement or any purchasing policies that may be impacted. These are not theirs.
Evening, that was a question directed to me, then yes, the council does have the ability to override the purchasing policy at any time it deems it is necessary to do so.
Councilor Spencer?
Through you, Chair, to Director of Finance, do we have to have council direction for that? Like, we have to put that within the motion?
To you, Madam Mayor, yes, that is correct. We would need council resolution on that.
Through the Area Council members, are you looking to then revise the revised clause B to include that it's not the vendor, but it's actually Mr. DeCluet as the vendor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to the chair, to our director, Andrew Greenway. We have confirmed with HR that our volunteers are not covered under this, is that correct?
So through you, Madam Mayor, they are under our WSIB, so it's our liability, but they do, in this case, because they're performing work, they would have to provide insurance. So it's a different type of work than volunteer at an event, right? They're actually going out with chemicals to clear a trail, so it's very different in terms of liability. So we could request that we receive the license, we could request we receive the insurance, that they sign all of the contractor, that our regular contractors would sign.
Okay, so the Horticultural Society has a memorandum of understanding and they have their own liability insurance, is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that is correct.
Through the mayor to the councillor, so just in hearing what Director Greenway, so we may want to add just at the end of that new revised clause, that so long as the proper license, insurance and contract are secured. I can read it in total again if you like.
Councilor Luciani?
Just a question through you. So if he joined the Horticultural Society, he would be covered. Am I correct here?
Yes, great.
Maybe the resolution should be that this goes back, that we accept this, and that it goes back to Park Beautification Cemeteries Committee to determine whether the individual that has requested this is actually willing to do it.
Well, he wrote this. I think that's a great suggestion, that he might want to sign up to be a member of the Horticultural Society. Problem solved. Councilor Spencer?
Through you, Chair. So might I suggest that we refer this back to your committee? Is that what you're looking for then?
Yeah, I suppose that if it's referred back, that this could come back forward to council with the, I guess, with the loophole closed as far as chemical license and who could apply it. And then we'll have a little better, we'll be a little firmer as far as the direction going forward.
So what information are we sending back to the committee? I guess it would be the requirements that we require, right? Licensing, insurance.
Through you, Madam Mayor, can I suggest that a staff report goes back to the committee regarding, what the requirements are, and then the committee can make the recommendation from there.
Okay, perfect. Clerk's on it.
Through the mayor to the council members, okay, so now we're at a referral motion being considered. The referral motion would look like that item 11.2 be referred back to the committee to review the process for securing a vendor or volunteer to conduct the work, including any license, insurance, or necessary contracts required. Referral equals a new report.
And the seconder,
I just need to know who's moving and seconding next. Now we're at a full fresh.
I'll second it.
Councillor Parker is seconding it, Councillor Spencer is moving it. Does everyone understand it? It's going back to the committee. Good discussion. I think we found a solution. Okay, any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Funding for Founders Day event. And, Renato? Okay, Renato, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor and leaving Madam Mayor and Council. This item, just wanted to raise that the item that the motion speaks to is in the draft 2025 budget and has been identified as a potential discretionary item. So just for clarity for our budget meeting, the way the resolution is worded, would approval of this resolution mean pre-budget approval, or should something be added to the end of the resolution to the effect of perhaps subject to final 2025 budget approval, which would give council the opportunity to deliberate this as part of the overall budget?
Does council have any questions for the Director of Finance? Seeing none, Councillor Burr.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Rose, the report titled CS 24-111, funding for Founders Day event be received as information, and the council approved the recommendation of the Municipal Culture Heritage and Special Awards Advisory Committee as follows: that any unused funds from the 2024 cultural grants budget line and the Twin City budget line items be transferred for use towards the 2025 Founders Day event.
For any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. No, it was read as written. Correct? Read as written. Read as just to there.
You don't want it subject to budget. You want it done.
No, it's going to the budget though.
No, you just approved it. Through the council members, just for clarity, without adding in subject to final approval in 2025 budget, you're approving this item as written, which means it's a go. Just want to make sure that that's the intention of council.
But it's moving funds that were already in the budget. It's moving previous funds.
Just removing funds from the 2024 budget that's already there.
How much, sorry, to the Director of Finance, how much was it? Yeah, it's already done.
Sorry.
I'm passing it on.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. Okay. Anyways, it was passed, so it's approved. Information items, Councillor Luciani.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Spencer. The following items be received as information. 1, letter from the Minister of Energy and Electrification. 2, 2025 Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund update letter. 3, Long Point Region Conservation Authority Board minutes, October 2nd, 2024. And 4, Safe and Well Inclusion Charter letter.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Spencer?
Through you, Chair, requesting item 12.4 Safe and Well Inclusion Charter matter be separated for individual vote.
Okay. So now we'll be voting on receiving we're still gonna receive them all as 1, 2, and 3. 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3 will be receiving this information. Everyone understand? All those in favor? carried. Next, we move to 12.4. Councillor Spencer?
I move by myself, seconded by Councillor Parsons, that the Safe and Well Oxford Committee June 12, 2024 delegation follow-up letter be received as information, and B, that the council of the town of Tillsonburg approve and endorse the inclusion charter of Oxford as guiding framework for promoting diversity, equity, inclusion within our organization and community.
Any questions or comments? Would you like to speak to the motion? Self-explanatory. Call vote then. All those in favor? Carried. Next, financial overview. Turn it over to the Director of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report speaks to the issue of the variance as it is at as of the end of September, which stands at about 2.1 million in terms of just the year-end balances, the forecast, which includes the surplus in building and parking that would normally be transferred to the reserve. We still have the final quarter to go, which is normally when most of the capital funds are spent. So this isn't necessarily an indication of what it might be, but it is what might be closely projected. Answer any questions. Thank you.
Council, have any questions? I do. So on page 78, so that's the operating plan for the town of Tillsonburg. And I was noticing that the grants, there was 249,905 in extra grants that was above and beyond budgeted. And then in user charges, there was 1.249 million more than anticipated. And there was one more, the levy. So the levy, there was an actual positive variance of $211,217. So my question would be, so there's a significant increase in revenue that wasn't budgeted for, right? We didn't anticipate those funds. It's great that they're there. It's like bonus dollars. But why can't some of that money be moved forward to 2025 budget? Because that wasn't like perceived to be or to occur in 2024.
So through you, Madam Mayor, some of the increases in revenues are related to some increases in expenditures. So you will see, for example, that the contribution to reserves under expenditures are about 2.4 million. So we'd have to take a look at where some of those increases relate to that may just be flow-throughs. In terms of the user charges, 627,000 of that is under permit fees. So again, that's just under building, which would be the amount that would be transferred to that reserve. So there's a positive variance, of course, up till Q3, which compared to say last year, there was about a $600,000 deficit. So it's just, yes, the way in which the expectation at the time of budget that staff have put in the budget versus what has transpired actually is producing this variance. In terms of the levy, that is a combination of additional or changes to the assessment within the year. So part of this, to your question about can this now be used towards the next year's budget, without knowing what the final number is as part of the audited year end, normally what the policies the town has in place is that the year end position is dealt with through the allocation to reserves at the time after the audited statements have come in, and that the budget is dealt with the reserve positions as they are in terms of any reserves to utilize towards the levy. So that there's a timing difference, and hence why there's a tax rate stabilization reserve, because the surplus would normally feed into that, and then that is available in future years. But obviously, any one-time funds that are provided to the levy against the levy in the following year, if that same number of dollars are not available the following year, then that difference will just carry forward into the following year's budget.
Thank you. Are there any further questions regarding the consolidated operating for Q3? Councillor Parsons?
Your worship, moved by myself, second by Councillor Parker, the report titled Finance 24-053, 2024 Consolidated Q3 Operating Results be received as information. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that will be carried. Next, we move to the departmental results, and again, I'll turn the floor over to you, Renata. I guess it'll be each department. So let me open the floor for questions. Does council have any questions for department heads regarding the departmental results? Councillor Parsons.
Yeah, a couple of questions, just clarification, please, through your worship to operations. I gotta get that page up here, the airport. Should be on the airport. The variance under purchases of 176,000. Would you just kind of highlight or explain how that variance is so large there, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to council, that would most likely be relative to fuel charging or the fuel purchase coming in, which would ultimately be a revenue generation on the way out. So this would just be a timing factor in terms of that variance at this moment.
All right, thank you. And if I may continue, just one more question. In the Department of Waste, tipping fee revenue, again, a variance of 39,000 in that area. I just wonder if that has to do with our operation or the transfer station. Is there additional revenue there as a result of people paying for taking materials to the transfer?
Through you again, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, that is correct. I would note that go through our waste management portfolio at the transfer station, we are in a little bit of a variable in the last 2 years of trending since the tipping fees have been downloaded to the residents as well. So we will see a little bit of a change in the 2025 proposed budget for you.
That's what I was hoping for, and I think quite possibly if we have this fluctuation, we may be able to reduce the cost of people, our citizens having to take things to the transfer station. That would be, I think that would be a win for our community.
Yes, and certainly the other thing on the back end is the county subsidizes the activity at the transfer station, but we still reconcile and present it to council for consideration as we operate it.
Thank you.
There was a resolution that passed at county that there was a charge for a trailer truck, that's changed. So you may want to speak to that because that changed.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the county heard this council loud and clear last year, and they applied a second rate, empty car, loaded trailer, and before it was the whole thing, and you had to pay a flat rate if you pulled up in a trailer, regardless of how much you brought in or if it was in the vehicle itself. So it has been revised to ease the charge when it's on site.
That's wonderful news. So can I ask if anybody knows the answer? If I take my little car with just some materials in the trunk to the transfer station, now what will I be paying?
Through Madam Mayor, I'd have to go and find the new tipping fees to identify that one, but I can certainly follow up with that chart would be. I think they were just recently published as well too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Just have to give me 1 second here, because I need to find the page number. I did have a question with regards to projects with Cranberry, that's a very large project. Will that be going out to early tender to try and get a better price?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we are currently in the midst of applying aggressively for grants for Cranberry. So we will be waiting for receiving information on whether we are successful in those grants before we tender. The most recent one was the water wastewater infrastructure. Can't remember the acronym that we had actually applied for the grant, but we should be hearing back by year's end at the very least.
Thank you. Oh, my question was on page 132, and it's regarding the Elliott Fairburn Center. The expenditures are high versus the revenue. It's on page 132. I mean, it was predicted, like the net, like, I feel that there's repairs and just moving forward, that there's repairs on the building that are gonna have to be done. And, we're barely covering it. That's, I guess it's facilities, yeah. Go ahead.
So through you, Madam Mayor, there is a report coming to the next council meeting on how we fare. So we'll answer your questions at the next meeting.
That's great, thank you. Because I flagged that and I just feel that margin is pretty tight. Okay, thank you very much. Perfect. Good to know. Any further questions or comments? Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Parker, that the following reports be received as information. 13.2.1, Q3 Department Results, Corporate Services. 13.2.2, 2024 Q3 Department Results for Economic Development and Marketing. 13.2.3, 2024 Q3 Department Results for Fire Rescue. 13.2.4, 2024 Q3 Department Results for Building Planning Bylaw Services. 13.2.5, 2024 Q3 Department Results for Operations and Development Services. And 13.2.6, 2024 Q3 Department Results for Recreations, Culture, and Parks. And finally, 13.2.7, 2024 Q3 Department Results for Finance.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that will be carried. Next, we move to a report regarding equity, diversity, and inclusion. Does council have any questions with regards to the report? Staff have any comments? Seeing none, Councillor Spencer.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Luciani, that report CAO 24-024 titled Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Internal Committee be received as information, and B, that council endorses the terms of reference for the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Internal Committee.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next, we move to economic development, request for an extension. See if do you have any comments regarding the report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just for council's benefit, this is a request that's come through from our good partner, I guess, People Care. Looking for extension in the closing days. Council will recall, council approved a phased closing. So on the first portion of the land for the long-term care home, they closed last year, and they were looking supposed to close on the remaining parcel a year later. Just because they're a little bit behind, they were looking for a little bit more time. But from they were actually looking to the middle of February. That's their request. Staff's recommendations that we just granted to the end of the year, and that'd be roughly the week between Christmas and New Year's when our lawyer would be able to affect that closing and currently and within the current year, so that the town can receive those funds and help support our ongoing operations. As our Director of Finance has noted before, so thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Councillor Spencer?
Can you clarify, so the extension closing date, it says to the end of December 2024? Should that be 2025 if we're extending it for a year, or?
No, oh, sorry, through the mayor, if I could clarify, we've already, council gave the extension from last November to this November. So that's the year extension in the closing for the second parcel of land. They've now requested an additional 3 months. And I'm, from a staff perspective, our recommendation is that we only extend it to the end of this current fiscal year so that we receive the funds this year.
Thank you.
Any further?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through the chair. See this, you mentioned between Christmas and New Year's, our corporate office does close at that time. Are you going to signatures for this?
Yeah, to the mayor, to the CEO Pratt, for sure, we would have this all queued up prior to the holidays. Our lawyer has confirmed that they would be in a position to close between Christmas and New Year's, as long as they have the appropriate documentation in place prior to.
Oh, Madam Mayor, thank you. It's just important that we do get these funds for the 2024 year. I don't want anything to extend it to 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parsons.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Parsons, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barris. The report EDM 24-042 titled Request for Extension, Agreement of Purchase and Sale with People Care Inc. be received, and B, that an extension in the closing date for the agreement of purchase and sale between the town of Tillsonburg and People Care Inc. to a date at the end of December 2024 be granted. Thank you.
So through the mayor to see this, I guess a clarification point before we call the question. Who needs to sign the revised agreement? The recommendation does not include for any direction to either present a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk. Do you have your own direction already to complete this?
Yeah, through the mayor to the clerk. Certainly, I was interpreting that we have the direction to proceed with this agreement by bylaw, I think multiple bylaws, if I recall correctly. So then this is within the authority of that bylaw, and it's a somewhat immaterial change to extend it to the other year. That's my opinion.
Through the mayor, if I could just suggest, without having the bylaws in front of us, and because you want a timing for the end of the year, I would suggest that we add a clause C that should an agreement bylaw be required to be presented to council for consideration. It would be a should one be needed clause, but it's just basically making sure that we're covered, that we have that ability should we need it.
Okay, the mover and the secondary are fine with adding a C clause that should a bylaw be required,
Yes.
that it be presented to council.
Yes, Your Worship, clause C, word included verbatim to the clerk. So.
Yeah, okay. And Deputy Mayor, you're good?
Yep.
Okay, everyone understands? Any questions? So all those in favor? It's carried, none opposed. Okay, next we move to the in-town bus shelter. Jonathan?
Thank you. For you, Madam Mayor, although I think that this report is pretty self-explanatory, just to express some of the highlights. Upon completion of the contract award and surveying the bus shelters, some notable deficiencies in terms of quantities were not captured, and mainly in the quantities of concrete in terms of extending the pads. And we had one relocation where we went to go lay out the bus shelter location. One of our corporate stewards that had the private bus shelter located on their site plan reluctantly said that they no longer wanted to be party to that bus stop. So we had to relocate it. That's a scope change, and what's in front of you reflects that scope change for the installation. The grant award relative to this point in time is for about 90% of the installation through the provincial award. Thank you.
Council, have any questions? I have a question. Why not take one shelter away? Like instead of putting more money into the project, why not just downsize the scope of the project?
Through Madam Mayor, completely valid question, and I did vet that out. That would require a scope material change with the province, which would require ministry approval, which would jeopardize the contract award and would jeopardize the award of the grant overall. So it's in staff's opinion to proceed with the tabled scope change to maintain the contribution from the province.
Any further questions or comments from council? Councillor Spencer.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Parker, that report titled RTSF Agreement TICO In-Town Bus Shelter Project be received as information, and that B, that the treasurer be directed to allocate an additional $32,564 from the Linear Infrastructure Reserve Fund towards the capital project 222 TICO bus shelters in fulfilling the identified scope change for the construction of the recognized bus shelters in partnership with the Rural Transit Solutions Fund Grant Award.
Any further questions or comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next, we move to the Lake Lisgar Water Park. We have a report. Do you have anything to add?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Julie Dell should be on, to speak to this report.
Welcome, Julie.
Hi, everyone. I'm here if you have any questions regarding the report.
Okay, I will open up the floor. Does anyone have any questions for the author of the report? It was very well written. No one has any questions. Councillor Rosar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Barris. A, that report RCP 24-053 titled Lake Lisgar Water Park Summer 2024 be received as information. B, that council approves the recommendation to adjust operational hours for Lake Lisgar Water Park in 2025. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? I see that it was very well attended, just for the public. The Lake Lisgar Water Park saw great attendance this summer, so it was fantastic. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. Next, we are going to look at the memorandum of understanding with the Tillsonburg District Craft Guild. Andrea?
So through you, Madam Mayor, this is just a report to show you the draft memorandum of understanding. We're recommending that we continue with our partnership with the Station Arts from 2025 to 2027. So the current period expires at the end of 2024. At this time, we're just asking to receive this as information, as the Station Arts group will be coming to council at the next meeting for a delegation. And they have suggested that they might be asking for additional funds for their programs. So we put in the CPI inflation, that is our recommendation as staff, and they will put what they request as well. They said that we currently fund about 17% of their budget, and they're going to look for about 20 to 25%. So be an increase of a minimum of $10,000 to our grant. So that will be based on council direction. We will include the amount for the grant and then get the finalized.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Doran? So is this included in the budget right now? Like, because we've all received our budget package, so the 3.08% is included in the current budget.
Yes, so through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that is correct. It's currently in the budget at 3.08%.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments, Deputy Mayor?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Luciani, the report Recreation, Culture, Parks 24-054 titled Tillsonburg District Craft Guild Draft 2025 to 2027 Memorandum of Understanding be received as information.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next, we move to advisory committee minutes. Councillor Spencer.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barris, that council receive as information the Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes dated October 8th, 2024. Museum Culture Heritage and Special Awards Advisory Committee minutes dated October 16th, 2024. The Community Healthcare Advisory committee minutes dated October 30th, 2024, and the Economic Development Advisory Committee minutes dated October 8th, 2024.
Thank you, Counselor. Any questions or comments regarding committee minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Notice of motions, Counselor Parsons.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Parsons, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barris. Whereas official statistics from the Government of Ontario confirm that rural roads are inherently more dangerous than other roads. And whereas, despite only having 17% of the population, 55% of the road fatalities occur on rural roads. And whereas rural, northern, and remote municipalities are financially strained by maintaining extensive road networks on smaller tax base. And whereas preventing crashes reduces the burden on Ontario's already strained rural strained healthcare system. And whereas roadway collisions and associated lawsuits are significant factors in runaway municipal insurance premiums, preventing crashes can have a significant impact in improving municipal risk profiles. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Tillsonburg requests the Government of Ontario to take action to implement the Rural Road Safety Program that Good Roads has committed to lead. It will allow Ontario's rural municipalities to make the critical investments needed to reduce the high number of people being killed and seriously injured on Ontario's rural roads. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Premier Doug Ford, Honorable Padmeet Sakara, Minister of Transportation, Honorable King Surma, Minister of Infrastructure, Honorable Rob Flock, Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Lisa Thompson, Minister of Rural Affairs, Honorable Trevor Jones, Associate Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response, and Honorable Sylvia Jones, Minister of Health and Good Roads. And further, that this resolution be circulated to all municipalities in Ontario requesting their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Would you like to speak to it?
I'm not going to speak to it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Just like to give the option. Any questions or comments? We passed this at county yesterday as well. All those in favor? That's carried. Counselor Spencer?
Thank you. I'm going to read a slightly amended motion, which I've sent to the clerk as well as all of council. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barris, whereas there's a history and risk of danger and fatality with wandering individuals with neurodegenerative disease, whereas Tillsonburg has a high percentage of seniors in our community, which by our 2021 populace and projection report states 29.3% of Tillsonburg citizens are 65 years of age and up, whereas the increase of percentage of seniors in the Tillsonburg community from 2016 to 2021 saw an increase of 24.7% increase in citizens aged ages 65 years of age and up, whereas the Alzheimer's Society reports Ontario will have 202% increase, dementia increase between 2020 and 2050, whereas 3 in 5 people with dementia will wander according to the Alzheimer's Association, and no, that's not the new one, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm gonna start from the beginning because I didn't change it on here. My apologies. Whereas there's a history of risk and danger and fatality with wandering individuals with neurodegenerative disease, where Tillsonburg has a high percentage of seniors in the community, which by our 2021 populace and projection reports state 29.3% of Tillsonburg citizens are 65 years of age and up, and whereas the increase of percentage of seniors in Tillsonburg community from 2016 to 2021 saw an increase of 24.7% in citizens ages 65 and up, and whereas the Alzheimer's Society reports Ontario will have a 202% dementia increase from 2020 to 2050, whereas 3 in 5 people with dementia will wander according to Alzheimer's Society, and whereas appropriate urgent notifications could be beneficially used to notify residents of a missing wandering older adult who may be suffering from documented cognitive disability and neurodegenerative memory disorder or dementia or other urgent messages, whereas the town phone app is a means to access for this type of urgent notification as well as other types of notifications to disseminate information to as many people possible. Be it therefore resolved that staff be directed to complete a promotional campaign of the town's application, push notifications, and its positive usefulness for reviewing and receiving information from the town. 2, that staff be requested to review and provide a report to council on the use of the town's app as a means to push notification for missing senior citizens in the community that have Alzheimer's, dementia, or similar neurodegenerative diseases and or other urgent situations. And 3, that all notifications be approved by proper authorization or authority before being disseminated. And if I could speak to that.
Yes.
I had a good conversation with our chair of police board. I have removed the term silver alert so that it's not confused with any actual program policies, which use the term in many places in North America, 37 states in the US, some in Canada, Manitoba, or avoiding other policy names such as the one used in Toronto to avoid any confusion. This is a simple direction regarding the push notifications with our app that specifically addresses concerns aforementioned within the motion, but as well for urgent other issues. With the precautionary water advisory, we accessed and pushed 4,500 notifications. However, many people that contacted me, as well as some people in this room that have the apps on the phone, did not receive notifications because it's you actually have to turn it on. And so that speaks to the piece of the public education with turning on or leaving off at the user's discretion, but just so people know it's there. The addition of the amended motion speaking to authorization was a recommendation, which would include, with the water advisory, the test was done by the public health water system owned by the county. In the case of a missing individual, it would be information authorized by our local police department. The more people we can educate to download the app, to use notifications for anything, I think is good. And I think the push app should be guarded for urgent situations so that there is not notification fatigue. In cases of urgency or time sensitive, the more people we can inform in as many ways possible, the better the outcome. Thank you.
So I have a question for clarification before I open the floor. So is this the town creating the messaging and then seeking authorization from the police? Or is the town sharing official police information?
Right, section 3 that speaks to that it is approved by proper authorization before being disseminated on the app.
Okay, no, that still doesn't answer my question. So who's generating the media? The town or the police?
The town is generating the push app media notification with the information provided by the police department.
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the mayor to council members, just the communications is responsible for the award-winning Tillsonburg app that we have at our disposal. And I would say that in relation to something that came from the police, we would never act on anything other than what they provide us. We share their messaging. That's a part of our process internally of how we handle anything that would be coming from our OPP detachment branch within Tillsonburg. I would also like to note that one of the statements made by Councillor Spencer is to utilize the push notifications only for urgent items. The goal is actually with your new communications specialist coming on board to look at all your digital channels, is actually to improve on other types of notifications, not necessarily emergency, but keep expanding, again, the award-winning app that we have here at our disposal for things such as leaf collection, as to if there is a road closure, so other things that may not be in an emergency situation, we would certainly look at ways to color code or alert in different ways when it is an emergency, but utilizing that system to be able to increase awareness on town and town initiatives and activities is part of the goal with that new role that is joining us on Monday.
Yes.
Through the chair to Madam Clerk, yeah. And I think I don't know if the wording was in my comment or within the motion, but urgent or time sensitive, like road closures, et cetera, is the idea, but yes, thank you.
I'm gonna open the floor. Does anyone have any questions? I think that, I'm gonna make a comment that I think awareness is fantastic, and I think promoting the app, but, item 2 and 3 is beyond our role as a municipality, and there's a Privacy Act. There's a Privacy Act that we need to be aware of. We could put the town, in a liability situation, like the information, we already have a protocol set up, so our communications is connected with OPP communications, and we can share their exact post, but we cannot create a post. This is out of our authority, so I would just caution. I mean, I think all of this is great for awareness. Definitely support that we promote this app, and I tried to do that with the boil water advisory and through my video. But I think, item 2 and 3, there's reasons why Ontario doesn't have a silver alert. This, is something that we've discussed at the Police Service Board, the Privacy Act. There are family members that don't even want to release an individual's last name. There are people that don't want the community to know that they have Alzheimer's or dementia, because that's personal, private information. So, we can certainly, send this back to the Oxford Detachment number 3, which is the new name, to discuss. But when you're getting into something like this, it's not just the OPP, there's the RCMP, the province of Ontario, there's a whole host of things that comes into play in this regard. Go ahead.
In response to that, that section 3 is the authorization of the proper authorization. Like, for instance, if it's a missing person, this was discussed with the chair in exactly what you said. I got the same email. This is different. And that's why the authorization has to come from the police with the exact information, because in situations where family don't want it put out to the town or put out in a phone app, it would be authorized by the police from the authorization from the families, to not offend the freedom of information, to not put things out that are not okayed by the family. And that suggestion there was from the chair of the police board, Oxford Detachment.
Okay, but you're still saying that the town is creating the content and then sending it over to be authorized?
No, not at all. That all notifications be approved by authorization before dissemination. We get the information from the police and then we disseminate. We're not making anything up. We're not putting anything out without their approval. If the wording needs to be changed, I'd be happy to hear suggestions.
We're already doing that. So our role as the lower tier is we disseminate the information. Like when we have the boil water advisory, we disseminated the information from the Southwestern Public Health.
That's right.
And we're already doing that though.
Right, so this is adding on that they would be aware. The chair said that they would talk to the police department in regards to if this can happen, then they would let us know the information to put it out immediately for a push on the app. It was felt through the conversation through the chair that as many ways as we can get the information out as possible, the better. So it's not making up any media. It's not hearing it on social media and putting out a push app. It's from the authorized folks, just like with the water advisory, it was authorized by others. So then when the report comes back, I would also suggest that then we forward it to the police board and detachment, so they're aware that we do have that application and opportunity to do the push app.
But we already have the authority to do that. That's what I'm trying to say. The municipality has the authority to push out the information from the OPP. And in fact, they tag me, like if there is something serious, like a municipal or like a person missing, we have actually worked on the protocol since the last missing person. We worked at that at the Police Service Board, and now they tag me on X, Instagram, and Facebook because I can reach a larger audience than. So those measures are already put in place, but that's from the Police Service Board. But the town has the capability to already share it. So like, that's where I'm unclear on what report we need, because the town is authorized to share information directly from OPP, and we have our communication staff connected with the OPP communication staff already. Councilor Parker?
Through you, Mayor Gilvazy. I think the premise of the resolution is good, and I understand the intent of it. I do think that we need comment from the police service board or police detachment board before we go forward with that other part, because I don't know if the OPP has a silver alert or missing persons for seniors, and I really want to see that information instead of just going verbally by what could have been discussed. I would like to see the report, or at least the information come from the police detachment board to this council, and then if we need a report from staff at that point, I think that's probably best, because I don't know what staff is going to do for a report without having the information from the police detachment board first.
Councilor Spencer?
Yeah, there is no silver alert in Ontario. They've been looking at it since 2011 in Canada. There's more calls recently because there's more people that are dying or wandering, or the statistics given. Perhaps I could be more specific in the police report to have staff reach out to the police board in regards to this for that report.
What I'm saying though is the town already has the authority to push it out on the app. And we have those communications are in place between the OPP and the town, and we can push it out through all our social media pages. Anything, X, Instagram, Facebook, the push app, we can already do that. We have that authority. As long as we're sharing the exact content that they provide to us.
Right.
We already have it. Councilor Lucian?
Just a few comments through you. First, I guess, is the more avenues we've got to get any information out, regardless of whether it's super serious, timely, time sensitive, or whether it's just an information type piece. I think it's about maximizing our town app. And really, I think that's a good thing. And I like what the clerk is saying, that we've got somebody coming in, and like we'll have good carriage of this. I think that regardless, you're not going to hit everybody, no matter what. You know, I mean, you can put up flyers, everybody doesn't see them. You can go to Facebook, not everybody's on it. You can use this, not everybody's got the town app. Go newspaper, some people don't get it. So the more areas it can go, the better. And I know what you're saying is that we can already push stuff out, and maybe it's just a matter of trying to maximize and ensure that if anything's there, that we assist when we can assist, and make sure that maybe there needs to be some type of memorandum between the two, or maybe it's already there. I don't know. But I think you're with the clerk, I think with what's coming in, and likely is going to have to be a good look in that department as far as how you're going to handle it. Maybe that's going to be there.
So through the mayor to the council, if I could just respond to one piece, I can give it by way of an example. So there was a day where we received a call from a staff member at one of our other facilities indicating that someone had attended there and was reporting someone missing. What we could have done is we could have jumped on every device and every channel and started updating and saying, Bob Smith, Bob Smith is reported missing. He looks like this, right? He was last seen in this area based on that one phone call. What we do is we pause for a moment and we say, where was that information verified from? And let's get through the proper channels. So when we do that, we contact the communications individual, which we have through OPP, through the health board, through the county, and we go through those channels and check before we ever would look at disseminating any information that they're already released something, or they're prepared to release something, or this is unfounded. And in this example, it was actually that the person had already been arrived back at home. And so there was no need to start pushing out things, but we wait on what they are acting based on the situation that we're in. With the boil water advisory, we did the same thing, right? We were waiting for that information. We pushed it out once we knew what we had and where we were sending people for the information. We would not act in advance of having that information secured from the right source. So to the mayor's point, I already do this. My team already does this. And so you may not need the report. So just maybe that clause B isn't necessarily needed because the process already undertakes that. And that's what your report will tell you, is that not only for this particular situations, but for others, we've already utilized this and we have a check and balance system in place to make sure that we don't disseminate something. In that case, it could be very dangerous to start disseminating information that wasn't accurate, wasn't wholesome, and it wasn't ours to share. So we want to make sure those things are in place. And the other point is to definitely use the app for other types of good town initiatives.
Through the mayor, I 100% agree, and everything that goes out needs to be verified, because there is potential for harm if it's not. So I think I'm just looking at the motion, I'm just looking at the bottom, number 3, that all notifications be approved by proper authorization or authority before being disseminated. Maybe it just needs to be reworded that all notifications that are received from proper authority or that are received from proper channels or proper authorities can be disseminated.
I think the promotion is great. Like, I think the town should do a video on how to use the app, how to turn on the push notifications. I think that's great. To the mover, what is it that you want to see in the report?
I think, given what Madam Clerk has just said, that that this is already being done and that there's no report needed, and I'd be happy to leave it with the promotional and educational piece. And if you feel that the suggested amendment from Councillor Luciani be included or not, I would be happy to hear what you've got recommended.
So through the mayor to the councillor, you could, if you struck and put down clause B, which was responsive to the report, clause C could just be edited to Councillor Luciani's suggestion that all notifications received from proper authorization or authority be disseminated. So just as a solidifying our process, we already do. Yes.
Right, thank you.
Okay, second mover, you're good. Seconder, you're good. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Next, we move to confirm proceedings bylaw, Councillor Parsons.
Yes, thank you. Moved by Parsons, second by Councillor Luciani, that bylaw 2024-096, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council meeting held on November 14, 2024, be read for a first, second, and third and final reading, and the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign the same and place the corporate seal thereunto.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Next, we move to items of interest. Deputy Mayor?
The only thing I can maybe say is the Festive Ride program is being introduced effective November 21st to January 1st, 2025. So act responsibly.
Very good message. Do not drink and drive. And you will see in police reports that drunk driving is unfortunately escalating. Councillor Spencer.
Just that I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at the parade. The weather is not looking as balmy as it was last year, but it still looks clear, so that's wonderful.
Councillor Rosser?
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor Berger?
I have a couple things. So first, actually courtesy of Deputy Mayor Barras, I'd like to congratulate Rebecca Dyke from Tillsonburg, who brought home the bronze for the World Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Championship in Greece in October. However, we don't have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club here in town. She trains out of St. Thomas in London. And she is the only female in her class. She started her journey in 2021 with her dedication. She placed second in her weight class at the Canadian Nationals in Toronto, earning a spot on Team Canada. And her next step is to compete in the U21 division on the world stage. So congratulations to Rebecca. Also, congratulations to the U12A Haunting Financial Group, team, this is sponsored by the Haunting Financial Group from the South Oxford Minor Hockey Association. They won gold at the Can-Am Challenge Cup in Nashville, Tennessee last weekend. So South Oxford's representing our community quite well on the international stage. Great.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to thank you for the very kind words at the beginning of this council and express my sincere gratitude for the time that I've had at Tillsonburg and servicing this council and the residents of Tillsonburg, although I think I might like to be inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame. This change, but nevertheless, my last point is a point of bad news because that's what bylaw does. Effective tomorrow, the parking restrictions for winter on-street parking come into effect between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So just a reminder that will be coming into effect tomorrow night or tomorrow evening into Saturday. And it is posted on our social media. We will be doing a couple more blitz the next couple weeks, just to reaffirm that component of our bylaw. Thank you.
And Mayor, can I just ask, when does that expire? Sometime in March?
March 15th, I believe this year, but I'll have to confirm that. It will be in our blast for social media as well.
Thank you.
Yes, and just a note to citizens, you can still get a ticket even though there's no snow. See this?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just want to just advise council that I have heard back from people here. They are appreciative of the slight extension and I want to pass that on. So thank you, council, for that support. I also want to note as well that a few weeks ago, the town center sign, wayfinding sign across from the mall was updated to remove, as you may recall, town hall was on that. It now says town center mall. So that's been updated for your information. So you can notice that. And lastly, I want to congratulate the team at the building department. I mean, I was looking at the numbers, they've been very busy. And just on the industrial side, at about 36 million, to give you a sense of perspective, from my looking back about 30 years, our previous high was about 50 million. So we're well over double that for this year, and the year's not quite over yet. So I know that they've been busy there, and I appreciate all the work that their team do to make these things happen.
There is an article in the Tillsonburg Post regarding the record-setting industrial growth, and there's our economic development officer has some very good comments in that article. I just read it before I came today. Andrea?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to inform the community that there's a tree lighting on the lawn of Annandale House on November 22nd at 7 p.m. And that will be followed by the opening of the faux Christmas tree exhibition. And that exhibition will run in the Pratt Gallery from November 22nd to January 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to advise the community that as per Councillor Spencer's comments, the firefighters will be at the parade collecting food, non-perishable food items for the Helping Hand Food Bank. So please, when you enjoy the parade, provide if you can, that would be appreciated. And then as many of council was fortunate enough to attend the Remembrance Day ceremony, it was well attended and a very, very great ceremony to be part of. So thank you.
Nothing tonight, just looking forward to a very festive, hopefully a little warmer parade on Saturday.
Nothing this evening.
So the parade is on Saturday and it is at 6 p.m. It's on Facebook, it's the Tillsonburg Optimist Club. And if you Google it, it'll give you the parade route. The kettle campaign kicked off today. So the Salvation Army has been in the community for 140 years. They celebrated their anniversary this year. 96 cents of every dollar stays in the community. And further to that, council will reconvene Monday morning, bright and early at 9 a.m. for the first budget meeting. So we are starting the budget process. It's also been started at the County of Oxford as well. So with that, we will look to adjournment and Councilor Rosar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Spencer, that the council meeting of November 14, 2024 be adjourned at 8:04 p.m. Thank you.